very attractive woman. So she kind of lures people in, mainly men,
So they
in the way
basically
she.
transform to protect their community and their family. Others transform to gain wisdom or spiritual insight. And then, hey guys, welcome back once again to the Midnight Safe Room where you feel safe and no topic is off limits. I'm back again once off work, so today's a good day. I'm back to my second job. Today's gonna be again me and my brother. I'll pass it out to him right now. Here you go.
Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well, especially being safe right now with all that Canada fires passing through. I know right here it's been pretty rough for us with the air and everything. So hope everybody's been safe today. Other than that, just diving straight into our topic today. Have you ever heard of the Siguanaba, dude? It's called the Siguanaba. So technically, there's a legend behind this that it kind of goes through. It's kind of known throughout El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, and even southern Mexico. Usually, what they say that it is what they describe as a beautiful, elegant woman seen with such like a nice flowing dress. Usually they'll find her like close like to rivers, close to woods, like kind of not too particularly eerie places, sometimes in deserted roads or just sitting having her face turned around in any type of environment where it's kind of you would have to physically get closer to see her. So in a way with her, having uh well, particularly how she's dressed and her body and everything in a way it's like a very attractive woman. So she kind of lures people in, mainly men, in the way she's like targets infidelity or drunk people, or in a sense kind of like testing those to see if they make good decisions. um like I said, usually it's men traveling at night. For the most part, she kind of lures them in wherever she's kind of going, whether it be the forest, river, or any deserted road. And it gets to the point where she'll let them get close enough, and when she'll turn around, she'll have the face of a horse, and that's when she'll kind of do her thing where she'll make the person either go insane or get so scared at the point where they'll run and somehow fall in like the river or fall off a cliff or something like that. So I would just imagine, walking down in the night, if someone, I mean, regardless if they were being infidel or not. I mean, just imagine you're walking home, especially intoxicated. Luckily we don't drink, but going home at night, whether it be 1 in the morning, and I don't know where either could it be either curiosity or, like I said, them up to no good. But just imagine, like I said, you think it's something normal, or even then, like I said, curiosity. You want to go see why there's a woman out that late, or even especially of how they look. Sometimes it's just out of character. And because I think about it, I feel like if you were to see someone that looked kind of shady, sketchy, or I mean, unfortunately, like in a bad state of being, maybe like raggedy or tear, I feel like the person would have not engaged and would have gone away. But yeah, and then I just think it's kind of like a thing of deception in my eyes. I don't know if it's really a bad thing because I mean, then again, I don't want to say she's good or not because, like I said, the people she targets. But in your opinion, dude, what do you kind of intake on this? Like, do you feel that what the Siguanaba is doing is good or not? Because obviously she's kind of testing that infidelity. Obviously, I don't think it's good for her to kill people, but in that sense, it kind of like, I guess the path we choose is where it kind of leads us, no? Or what do you think on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, like you were saying, like obviously nobody's here to take anybody's life because not the thing to do. But I guess in her eyes, maybe they did something to her so she could justify her actions. Obviously, infidelity is not gonna, it shouldn't condemn you to death. But like I said, maybe in her eyes, they did something wrong to her. And as far as being drunk, well, I mean, I mean, you don't know. Maybe she might target only, like you just have to be drunk and she'll target you, or you just have to be, cheating on your spouse or your girlfriend. But then, or maybe she'll target people that are really bad and they're doing both at the same time. Because I personally would be freaking out if I saw somebody like that, just crying in the distance. And I don't know if I would go check because, with all these stories that go on and about, like, I don't know if me myself would go check to see what it's all about.
Yeah, I guess it's more like of a curiosity thing, or if you feel like you want to help that person because you don't know what's going on. But just to clarify, guys, the woman that she does when you encounter her, like I said, she does have a horse face, but it is like a skeleton. So skeletal like horse face, and even then, it has like a monstrous like look to it. So one would imagine, thinking, wow, it looks such a beautiful, attractive woman with long black hair, flowing white dress, and then you come to her so close and you see that, image.
Yeah, no, definitely. That would freak me out. So she's technically turned around, and then as you get closer, she'll turn around and she'll have a horse face, but skeleton.
Yeah, so she usually is, like I said, appears in locations where it's kind of hard for you to see her, and she'll always be turned around or at a certain angle where you can't see her face. And then it gets obviously she obviously attracts the men because of how she looks, and um so when it gets to the point where they follow her so deep into wherever she may be, like I said, whether it be cliffs, forests, rivers, or deserted roads, they see her face and then they'll either go insane, or they'll run and they'll get lost, or they'll, be while they're running or trying to evade. Depending on where they're at, they'll either fall off a cliff because they're running away, or they'll fall in the river and because they're panicking, they'll drown, or in the road and someone will hit them with their car. But yeah, I think that's pretty crazy. I mean, uh, I honestly, me, if I noticed that, I don't think I would have taken the risk. Maybe just because, like I said, I would want to help the person or see what's wrong, not necessarily because I'm gonna be like, oh, I want to go do something with this person, because I would just think it would be kind of odd. Or even then, maybe I wouldn't, because nowadays I'm so, I guess, paranoid of things where people kind of set you up to things and you're like, you never know. Kind of like I seen this YouTuber, like, I watch him. He's a truck driver or whatever. Shout out Alex Nino. Like how he gave stories where he would go to places and they would tell him, "Oh, they need help. Can I use your phone?" And then next thing you know, he would say that people would be driving away with the car, and you don't know what people are up to nowadays.
So with that being said, has there been anybody that that has seen that entity and then they survived to tell the story, or how did the story come about? I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but do you know anything about that? Like if anybody has ever survived or, lived to tell the story?
Not necessarily. No, they just said that it did like exist through, like I said, Central America, whether it be El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, or even Mexico. It does vary from story to story, but they do keep the same formality. Like I said, with her, how she looks, targeting men, and I guess the scenery or wherever they kind of leave off. But not necessarily that someone has survived to tell the story. It's not really, they can't necessarily be linked. Like I said, it's kind of just superstitious myth that goes on in time, and that's why they kind of linked it to it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely interesting. Like makes me think like why does she do this and what are her motives? And obviously you told me why she picks her victims. They're either being, you know, um they're drunk or they're cheating on their spouses. That's pretty much why she attacks them, right? Or she lures them in, right? Because for that reason.
Yeah, so I think in different parts of like I said, in different countries, they describe her different, like not necessarily in a depiction, but and I think El Salvador, they say that she does it to, she does it straight to get back at people who are infidelity, and then infidel, and or other people. I believe in Guatemala, they say that it's like a test to, to test people's, I guess, if they're faithful or not. And in Mexico, it's just like kind of an apparition, something that just comes out. So it's always different in other parts.
So basically, in that instance, you just have to walk away, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much the thing, because you don't want to get close to her, because then obviously with you seeing that, or and who knows if she does anything to you or not. But yeah, it's kind of that's kind of like the best way to get away from her. Just don't go near her. Like don't follow her.
That is really interesting, you know? Well, I mean, now for all the viewers that know, you know, not to, go and check to see what she's doing, just walk away, don't cheat, and don't get too drunk. Obviously we don't condone drinking because obviously, I mean, to each their own, but if you drink, just drink in moderation and, be safe out there, guys.
Responsibly.
Yes, yes, definitely drink responsibly. Um, with that story, is there anything else you want to add, or we'll try to see if we move on to another topic?
No, as far as that, I mean, that's kind of pretty much everything about the, like I said, of this particular
Entity.
yeah, entity, the Saguinaba. So if anyone like interested in that, you can look it up. There's a bunch of information theories or like that on the internet. So feel free, but I'll pass it off to you, dude.
Okay, so what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear shaman? You know what a shaman is, or you have an idea?
Yeah, dude, I love playing Warcraft. So kind of like a sorcerer or so anyone to do with like magic. Because I remember when you were able to play as the human race, I would always pick them because I would see them floating and they would be like boom through like their thunder or stuff or like anything magical. So I always thought it was dope. And for some reason, sometimes I noticed the shamans were either wolves or they were like an animal. Like they would, and usually in Warcraft 3 it was a wolf and he would always like, be able to do spells and things.
All right. So with that being said, what would you do if you're walking like in the desert or driving through the desert or a secluded forest area and you see a person transform into an animal? Maybe transform into a jaguar or something like that. What would you do in that case?
Man, I think I would just keep my distance because I don't if I see something that out of this world, I guess, be able to do that, then I don't know. I think I would just freeze too. I don't know if I would want to even encounter. I don't know. I guess it's like kind of curiosity, depending on the situation. But I don't know because you would want to see what that is. But then again, you don't know if it's gonna be good or bad.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to talk about the Nahuales. I do know that that's powerful shamans, powerful shape-shifting shamans that could turn into either jaguars, coyotes, or serpents. Those are the main ones. Um, they do their origins are from indigenous Mesoamerican tradition. And I think they're from pre-Columbian Mesoamerica, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, no, they're definitely like, powerful shapeshifters that turn into animals. Have you ever heard anything from that or anything like from those stories?
I mean, growing up, I did hear a lot that from like our grandparents or even our uncles saying how over there they would witness a lot of things of that nature, whether they were at cemeteries, at parks in the night, or just kind of strolling around and I don't know where, or even in farms. I noticed that people that have farms or land, that whether when they would check on like their animals, they would see another animal trying to either like attack their cows or chickens or anything, and then when they would try to approach it or shoot it, it would run away, but it would turn into a human or another thing, Like sometimes it would be, or vice versa. They would see a person in the coop or in the farm or in wherever and that they shouldn't be, and then they would start shooting, and I don't know where it's all fours running.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've heard stories about that there's different animals, like the farmers or the people that have, like crops, they'll go out there and they'll see their animals being eaten by other animals and they'll chase them down to hunt them down. And then they, shapeshift into a human. I do know that, every Nahual shapeshifts into something different. Like I said, it could be like a jaguar, a coyote, or a serpent. There's definitely other animals that they could turn into. I do know that they symbolize the connection between humans, nature, and the spiritual world. They are said to be connected to animals, So they said that not only the body transforms into an animal, but the soul and the spirit transforms into an animal. So that's pretty cool.
So would you say like if if you do have the information or read about it, would you say that when they do transform, is it still them in a sense? I guess.
Um, I would assume that it is them because they know what they're doing. I would assume, and they shapeshift into it, and then they transform back. I mean, unless it's two beings in one, or maybe it could be that it's their spirit animal. But I would assume that's still them. Like because they. I think depending on their birthday or their birth month, they transform into a certain animal.
Yeah, I only ask because the fact of, I just think of primitive animals, kind of them going back to the regular instinct, no matter what, we have a bunch of animals, we have cats, dogs, and all that. So I'm just saying, because no matter how much sometimes your dog will love you, sometimes you'll give them that bone or that piece of meat and they'll kind of go in that primitive state, and those, like, and you'll see it. Sometimes you'll give your dog a bone or meat and the other dog will get closer to the other animal, even you, and they'll try to bite you, not because they don't like you, but they just go into that state of, that primitive self. So that's why I was asking if with them transforming into a wolf or anything, are they going to be more aggressive? If they turn into an eagle, are they going to be more, aware, stuff like that? That's what I was saying. Like, would it kind of take away from their actual self and make them, because obviously if you're walking and you see a wolf, you're not going to be, hey, I want to go pet it. Your instinct's like, whoa, he's going to attack me.
Yeah, no, definitely. I read that they turn into coyotes and they're deceiving. Like they basically get away with everything. So depending on what they shapeshift into, that's what they do.
Oh, so then you're saying that there's good and bad ones, then, right?
Yes. As far as that goes, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like everything. I'm pretty sure they're good all the way. But if you like deceive them or you do something wrong, they're gonna unleash the chaos on you. I guess it depends. Like, I don't know if it depends on how you treat them or how you view them, or them themselves, how the path that they choose, to take.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a one sider, because it's like they could be on a good day, you could be bad day, or you could be good day and they could be bad day, or vice versa.
Yeah, no. So symbolism of the jaguar is means strength, leadership, courage, and protection and power. And then there's the eagle, vision, wisdom, freedom, and connection to the heavens. There's also a coyote, intelligence, adaptability, trickery, and survival. See, that's the one I was telling you, the coyote. Owl, insight, mystery, intuition, and in some traditions, a message between worlds. And I do know that other traditions also use the owl as like it being a witch, like with the lechuzas. They if I'm not mistaken, it's a witch with the owl head. So, another like I said, in other traditions and other, things like that, they're actually used as well. Like I noticed that they use the owl for certain transformations or certain entities. Um, there's a deer, could transform into a deer, gentleness, grace, peace, and sensitivity. And the last two is the wolf. Wolf means loyalty, family, teamwork, and instinct. And the last one is a dog, protection, guidance, and faithfulness, which obviously is perfect, because a dog's always faithful to you. A dog does everything for you. Like a dog lives for you. Like they're better than humans.
So to clarify, you're saying, do you think that or they come out like to certain people because, like, would you say they come out for that reason? Like how you said, I guess the eagle is for wisdom, or what'd you say, for or courage or something? So would you say if they came out to a person, like if a Nawal appeared to you as that, are they trying to show that to you, or is it just like that showing them to themselves?
So they basically transform to protect their community and their family. Others transform to gain wisdom or spiritual insights. And then I heard that some transform to heal, that they heal others from sicknesses and really bad sicknesses and things like that, that they can heal you. So that is pretty cool, because if they could help you out or they could help out others, that means they're not selfish, because technically they are shamans. So obviously, power of a shaman should be healing, you know?
Yeah, like I said, it goes back to that. I mean, just a typical computer game, like when you be playing, and like I said, you'll be fighting, and they would heal you. Yeah, yeah. I remember they would have like the mana, which kind of like I guess would be their magic or whatever. And when they would run out of mana, they wouldn't be able to cast spells. but it is extraordinary thinking that, how people kind of just view it as something malicious, but it could honestly be something positive, especially if it's trying to heal you or help you.
Yeah. Would you like to travel between the physical and spiritual world, or how? What do you think about that?
No, yeah, out of body experience, that'd be pretty crazy. Or just, um, you know, kind of like being able to finally be at peace or kind of meet. Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I got into that because like I said, I heard of this artist named, rest in peace to him too, but Capital Steez, he was a rapper, but he incorporated a lot of a lot of spirituality in his music. I mean, if you guys check him out, it is different. He did talk about, the third eye and chakras and things like that. But yeah, no, dude, I would definitely interested in that. Sorry for like kind of veering off.
No, it's good. But yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting topic. Just to see somebody transform into an animal, like makes you want, makes you yourself wanna, maybe be like, damn, like I wish I could transform into a wolf or I could transform into a coyote. Like that would be pretty interesting the way that I see it. But yeah, no, there's been a lot of sightings from what I've heard. Usually, I heard from Mexico. Like you said, um, stories about like people seeing, other humans turn into dogs or vice versa. I heard a story that supposedly there was a Nahual that killed, I think, the animals in the crops, and then they actually hunted him down and they shot him. And when they shot him and killed him, he transformed back into a human. So, for a reason, there's those stories. And this dates back to, like I said, to Mesoamerica. Like there's documents date back, from a long, long time. So even then makes you wonder, that obviously it's there for a reason. It's not something that just came up like right now. Like it's passed down from, generation to generation. So for a reason it's there. But I mean, that would be cool, like for example, for you, if you could transform into a spirit animal, what spirit animal would you be? And why?
Man, I don't know. I think, I guess definitely the one. Because which one did you say was the one for healing? Was it the? I don't remember which one you said it. Was it the? Was it the?
Create a space where people can wear their truth, embrace their struggles, and find strength in their darkest moments. We're here to remind you that no matter what life throws your way, you have the power to fight back. You can save 10% off on your order with Midnight 10. 10% off again with your order, Midnight 10. Look at the quality of these shirts, guys. Everything about it. It just looks perfect. The lettering, the graphics, everything.
Wolf?
So the wolf, it says loyalty, family, and teamwork and instinct. As far as healing, because they all have different meanings, obviously, in what they do. No, they all heal. They all heal. The shamans all heal.
Then I guess then I would pick the last one, the wolf, the family one. I think I would pick that one. Just just because I feel like the few people that I have in my life, whether it be the few friends or family, that's a very important thing to me. So that's just something that I value very much to this point in time. But I think that's what I would kind of want to be, and also because I think wolves are badass. Like who wouldn't want to be a wolf? Like just pop out. Like even as a kid, I always debated like what would be cooler, a vampire or a werewolf, and I always thought a werewolf was cooler.
Okay, so I take it back. It says snake, transformation, healing, renewal, and knowledge.
Ah, okay then. Maybe a snake then. I just think it's funny because when people say you're a snake, but I guess that's a deceiving way. But yeah, then definitely that one. Not obviously just because in the course of time that we've all been here, like we all experienced something. So definitely not just to heal myself, but to be able to help others, and I guess in the sense of healing them because I feel like everybody deserves to be happy and with how regardless of how life is.
Yeah, no, like I said, each spirit animal does different things, so that's pretty interesting. And now that we're touching into the subject of Nahuales, shapeshifters, but I'm pretty sure this doesn't necessarily fit into the same realm, but it just kind of reminds me of it for some reason. So you're sleeping in your room, you're laying down, obviously. You wake up, you kind of, start coming back to it, and you see this creature, black eyes, pale skin, hunched over, staring at you from the edge of your bed. You look up and it crawls away in all fours. What would you do next?
So it's either I'm running away or we're fighting because I don't know. I'm not. I think it's I'd probably do that thing where people would think hiding under your sheets is gonna help, but I think honestly with me it would be more of a, I guess, fight mode at that point. And then if I had to run, I would run. I learned that from the movies, but yeah, no, you describing that ominous creature, I don't think I would want to stick around. I think my priority would be running out. I mean, even maybe if I had a window, try to get out the window or something, because especially seeing it walk in all fours, I mean, that's just kind of weird.
Yeah, no, the reason why I say is because I was thinking about the rake, you know? Um, white, pale skin, hunched over, walking in all fours, black eyes, you know, mouth closed, and when it opens, it's a bunch of little sharp teeth.
Yeah, dude, I remember the picture. I'm like pretty sure, like, cue the picture, but it is gonna, you'll see it. I remember that scared the crap out of me growing up, like how it looked. It just looked like a really malnourished person that was kind of kept in captivity forever and didn't get to see the day of light and, went insane to me. But
Yeah, so the rake came to light when it's a creepypasta, but it was actually created by people in 4chan. They actually wanted to create a new monster basically, so that's why they came up with that. Um so there's a story where it's a family, a mom, a dad, a daughter and a son. The mom's sleeping next to the dad, and she wakes up and she sees, the rake. She sees the rake at the edge of the bed and she freaks out. So he runs towards the dad where he's sleeping and he whispers something into his ear, but she can't tell what it is. So she yells at the father. The dad wakes up and the rake runs out of the room. Boom. And then they both get up and they're like, "What's going on?" So she tells them what she saw. And then they hear their daughter scream in the hallway. So they both run to the hallway and they see the daughter and she's bleeding on the floor and then he runs away, and then she's like, they're obviously hysterical because the daughter's bleeding. And she says, "Mom, Dad, his name's the Rake," because nobody had figured out his name at that time. So they go outside, they see him, and I think he attacks the dad. So it's only the mom and the son. And basically, yeah, the daughter and the dad didn't make it. So she basically starts recording from then on to see if she could see him again because she knows that he's gonna come back for her eventually. So in that instance, like if that happened to you, like the rape was to take away one of your loved ones or your family members, would you prepare yourself for him to come back to you, or would you just try to, or would you just think that maybe it was all in your head and something else happened?
with what I've seen in recent times, and well, even not recent but past, and what I've grown up to, hear and see, I would embrace. I would be ready for another encounter. I think I will be more on the angry side or kind of like attack mode because it already took people that I care about. So what more do I gotta lose? Um, but I would definitely be scared too, because like I said, if I'm pretty sure many of you seen the picture, but if you didn't, yeah, like I said, the way they show it or portray it, it's a pretty scary figure, especially if you see it doing what it does to people.
Yeah, because from what I read, I remember that it wouldn't attack others, like it would just be there and it would observe you. But then I guess it really depends. I guess if it has a motive or a reason to attack you, you know, especially because its mouth is always closed, and when it opens its mouth, it has sharp little teeth. I mean, he is an internet legend, you know. Like I said, we go back to 4chan, and not just that, but you know, creepypastas and the OG creepypastas. He's part of that, you know. And even like when the picture came out, like that's pretty scary. And not just that, I'm pretty sure they have a video, you know, like where the guy looks into like this abandoned, like it looks like an abandoned tunnel, and you can see him stick his head out from the side, and then he like runs towards him.
Yeah, I remember that iconic thing. Kind of with that being said, dude, like with all these, I know creepypastas are all fake and all that, or they get an idea from it. But do you think with people kind of always talking about these things, something can be created out of it? You know how they say like if you keep giving something energy, it could come true, or do you think that's just all BS? Because me personally, I think if you give something so much energy, it will come true, or like it will become a thing just from, like I said, seeing movies or reading on how things have happened in different parts of the world, whether, it be with people having toys and then next thing you know they move, or the ideology of like them looking for a demon, ghost, or witch, and they keep looking and looking and giving that energy and it becomes more stronger. So do you think with people always talking about like the Rake and Slender Man and all that stuff that it could possibly be true one day, or it's just always just going to be that fake, that kind of thing, that, fake story?
I mean, I believe that it's all about manifesting. You know, I think that if you give something so much energy and belief, I feel like there has to be something, you know? Like I said, we've discussed, you know, out of this world type beings, you know, entities. And for a reason, they're there. Like, you know, even we've said stories about things that have happened to us, things that we can't explain. So I feel like with that being said, there has to be something that you give your energy to and it definitely manifests. Like it has to. You know, like even these creepy pastas or these internet stories, like, they're really interesting because you don't really know which ones are true and which ones are fake, you know? Like, and there is a lot of true stories and there's a lot of fake stories. You know, like personally from past experiences, I do know that a lot of those things are real. Like I'm not gonna say that they're not. I'm a firm believer that there's other, you know, worldly beings and entities that are there that exist. We just can't, you know, basically explain or say why they're here or what their purpose is. But there's definitely, you know, life outside of us. Like, you know, like I said, whether it be entities or deities or things like that, you know. Um, but with that being said, is do you have like any other topic or any like stories that you would want to share? Anything like that? Conspiracy theories.
I mean, you know how you were talking about the Nahuales and how they shapeshift into animals. Well, there was this thing that caught my attention that I was looking up the other day, or even a long time ago. I heard about them. I just never did too much research on them. But they're called Cadejos. So pretty much, it's kind of in other words, it's like a really big dog, kind of like wolf looking like. But more so over, people have said to seen these in like in Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and again, also Nicaragua. The point is, the legend is that you either see a white or black Cadejo. So if you see a white one, it's the wolf-like dog. It's gonna be really big, white fur, blue eyes, and you can barely hear them step, but you hear them lightly to the point where you barely hear them. But the white one, what it does is that it helps people that are lost or whatever, kind of guides them in a way where sometimes they feel lost in life, or if they're physically lost. So if you're like lost in the road or in anywhere where it could be, like I said, something spiritually or physically, like, if man, where am I? Or if you feel like you're lost in the road, it gives you guidance or stuff like that. But like I said, it's long, shaggy fur, blue eyes. Sometimes it'll have silver. That just kind of means that I guess they're more wise or stronger at the time. Um, like I said, usually it helps lost travelers, children, or honest people, and even, like I said, people that are struggling with something spiritually or mentally. Now comes the black candejo, which is same structure, but instead of it being white, all black, really sharp, pointy teeth, eyes are red, and that you smell sulfur and like kind of a musty smell, and you also hear chains dragging when it's around. Now, instead of how the other one helps you, this one does the opposite. It lures you in and it kind of makes you make bad decisions. If you're already in a bad place, for example, they've said like if if anyone doesn't ever, the thought of suicide, it kind of makes them go there. If they're kind of like in the bad road where they're stealing, it'll tell them to keep stealing, or vice versa. Like if they're physically lost, it'll take them down the road where they'll go completely insane or something like that. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting because they've said that people have had encounters or apparently like stories where their whole life did a whole 360, or they've never seen them again. I think there was a story in Nicaragua where there was an older gentleman who, unfortunately he would beat his wife. And even then, it got to the point where I believe they were going to divorce or something. And then he was walking home one night, I believe, from drinking or something. And he saw the black Cadejo, and he, realized what it was trying to do and kind of pretty much telling him what his downfall was. So then as he tried to escape, he noticed that he stopped hearing the change, and like, well, pretty much what happened was that he was going home, he encountered it, started running away, started hearing the chains, and then out of nowhere he noticed a really bright light, and then that's when he noticed that it was the white one. And then it kind of like, opened his eyes and then gave him that insight that, hey, this is not right, and et cetera, et cetera. And after that, like, the guy was a changed person. He never hit his wife anymore, and he kind of turned his whole life around, and he stayed together with her. Like, I don't know, who knows if it's real or fake or not. The internet has a lot of things, but as far as something like that, dude, how would you feel like if you encounter either or yeah, like if you encounter either or, whether it be the white or the black, or if you saw both, or and do you think that it's kind of like what would you, yeah, pretty much what would you get out of it?
So pretty much I would take it as a blessing if I saw both of them because I was just giving you a choice, and you were gonna have to choose like either the white candejo, which is a protective spirit, or the black candejo, which is a malevolent spirit. So you would either, if they both come out, you basically either learn your lesson, change as a person, become a better human being, or you just keep being who you are and become a worse human being. So with that being said, is like I guess I would take it as a learning lesson because I'm getting a chance to actually change and become a better human being instead of just being condemned, for me being a bad person. So I'll take it as learning, like a learning experience. Because definitely, if it was just like the bad one, the black pendejo, then that means that you're pretty much done.
Or let's just say you didn't even like it didn't appear to you, but you saw one. Would you approach it even if it was like either or, like if it was the black or the white, or you would just kind of not even go near it?
It's kind of hard to say. Like I love animals, and I think they'll look pretty cool to be fair, to be honest. So I might want to approach just to see what they do.
Because I think what would throw me off would be like I said, the smell of sulfur, and how it has that nasty smell, and the chains, and just like the I guess the how it looks, dude, like it'll look like a pretty much scary dog. So I mean, just think about it now, how we as kids growing up would, some people as kids or younger, even now as adults, they'll just see a pit bull and freak the hell out, even though it's not an aggressive dog, but just of it being so big, people are frightened.
Yeah, not just that, but these have like glowing red eyes and claws that are gigantic. So then in a sense, yeah, no, like I guess that would kind of make me double think, like if I would approach or not. Um, because I do know that the white candejo represents protection, guidance, and safety, and the black candejo symbolizes temptation, danger, fear, or the consequence of reckless behavior. So I guess yeah, it depends how you act or what you do that which one's gonna appear. And I guess if it's both, then you have a choice to pick what life you what life choices or what you make. from your life from then on, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's crazy the fact how they both have a opposite thing, and you know how the other one is kind of purity and you can barely hear it, like so light on its feet, kind of like saying that it's at peace, you know, in a way, and how the blue eyes and white or sometimes silver fur, you know, like kind of you see that as like angelic, like no, and the opposite, you know, of that is like seeing the other one all dark, black, you know, super long, sharp teeth, red glowing eyes, a smell that you know of burning. It's just crazy how like it kind of has that intertwined with you know the good and the bad, and in a sense like heaven and hell, you know. But yeah, I just think that's pretty extraordinary. The fact how animals play a big role, whether it be spiritually or you know paranormally or anything like that. Nah, don't you think so, dude?
Yeah, no, definitely. And then we go back to like how we were talking about the Nahuales from Mesoamerican. These are also originate from Mesoamerican, you know, so it's the same thing. But I wonder why, you know, it's always like supernatural animals, like, you know, supernatural wolves, supernatural dogs. Like I feel like that's something that, you know, is always there. Like I wonder why certain animals, but I guess it all depends on the origins, you know? Like it but it's really interesting the way that I see it. You know, like I said, you either get the white Cadejo and you know, you learn a good lesson and you change as a person, you become a better person. You live the good life, or you either you know, stay bad and, you know, live your life like with the black Cadejo, you know, it's you know, cursed and, you know, basically living a bad life and being a bad person.
Yeah, because the crazy thing about it is how the white one kind of does it silently, and I thought it just protected you from the black andejo, you know, because you usually think when the yin and yang or like the good and bad is like they're made for each other to combat each other. But no, like even then, it protects you from like evil spirits, witches, you know, demons, or even like criminals or people that are trying to hurt you. That's the crazy thing. So that'd be pretty crazy that if you were like walking home one day or something, someone was gonna mug you or something like that, or there was a bad entity gonna curse you, and I don't know where this huge white wolf looking thing comes out and helps you. Like man, that I think that would be pretty cool.
So kind of like a Pokemon or like like not a Pokemon, but you know, like obviously if you have a white dog, that would be cool. You know, like it would come out and protect you. But yeah, that would be a pretty good idea, you know. But like I said, it goes back to Mesoamericano. And all these interesting stories that go back to like the same origins, you know. So that's pretty cool, you know. But the Candejos are generally understood as figures from folklore rather than documented supernatural beings, you know. So that's like I said, it's pretty interesting. I do believe, you know, that they do exist, and I do believe that it does make and help you change your life for the good or the bad, you know? Because if I was to have a chance and somebody was giving me a chance and they're like, okay, well, you either go the right path or the wrong path, like that to me is a blessing in disguise, you know, because you either change, you know, you change to become a better person or you stay the same, become worse. Um, what would you do if you saw them, or what would you think the decision that you would take? You think you would change your life for the better, or just be like, ah, screw it, I'll just stay like this?
I would definitely take it as a learning experience and have it definitely shape myself to be a better person. There's always room for improvement, you know? Like this, like kind of we say, there's only going up, not going down. Even though, like I said, sometimes we fall a lot, and like I said, we just get back up. But yeah, I would definitely look at it in a positive way to see how I can manifest it to just change me as a whole, you know? Whether it be mentally, physically, or spiritually. But yeah, I would just use it to definitely benefit me the most possible way I can out of that experience or encounter, you know?
Yeah, and with that being said, I have a question. So, do candejos come out in the nighttime only or in the daytime? Because I do know that they come out in the nighttime. Obviously, I think it'd be better because not a lot of people could see them, you know?
Yeah, so usually in the night they're not really too noticeable, especially the white one. due to its being so illuminated and the fact that it's trying to be kind of like low key about it. Even the soul factor of it, kind of like you only hear it like very lightly, like like little, even like which is crazy because it's a ginormous wolf, with such strength and power, but it's so light on its feet.
And what do you think the black Cadejo symbolizes in modern society right now?
I just think generally the evil, the bad, the corruption, all that kind of combined with, of how, um, well, yeah, like all the bad decision making, all these crime making things, stuff of that nature, whether it be theft or people taking others' lives. That's what I kind of get out of it. And whether it be the white one, it's like more of a positive thing of it kind of showing you that like protection or showing you that you can, I guess, change as a person or.
So speaking of the white Cadejo, do you think it's a guardian or a warning?
No, I believe they said it's a guardian because it's there to protect you because I guess in a sense it knows that something might happen to you or it knows kind of like the lingo like, oh, this person's walking here in the night, here I'm gonna do my thing, just like kind of a guardian type of thing. It's just like if you were a cop or whatever and you saw someone walking at, I don't know, 2 3 in the morning with their boxers, you're gonna be like, I think I'm probably gonna follow this guy.
Yeah. I wonder why the black Cadejo is, like what I wanted to say, like associated with fear and temptation. Like is the color like like the yin and the yang.
I'm not too sure on that. I mean, and then it kind of makes you think about it because well, no, because honestly, it does say, I was gonna say it's not bad in a sense because it targets bad people, but it also kind of tricks people. So yeah, it is a bad entity because instead of it just as solely getting people that are bad, no, I'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna get this person and lure them in and trick them so they can, fall into my grasp or, just do bad being to them.
I wonder if there's actually been like modern sightings, like right now in the 2000s, or they were just more seen like back in the day. Like that's something interesting that I would want to think about too. Like if they actually come out now, like do people still see them? Do people, do they appear now? And like I said, it's pretty much the duality of like, is it the duality of like bad and evil within a person? Like how we were talking about yin and yang. Obviously that's what it represents, the good and the evil.
Yeah, I guess it really goes back to, like I said, however you seem to kind of take this in or whatever, or really believe in that type of superstition or myth, because I feel like everybody has different beliefs on what is good and what is evil, or what, I guess if people, like I said, this El Candejo is like kind of been talked about in different parts of the world. So yeah, I guess like it really matters too, I guess, and also on their beliefs or religion, I guess. But yeah,
And I wonder like if they only appear to certain people or to everybody. Like, oh, you're the chosen one, so we're gonna appear to you.
I guess it really depends because when you think about it, the white candejo is there to protect people. So I'm pretty sure as long as you were in danger, it would be there. Or maybe who knows if it doesn't protect everyone? Maybe you never know because it's like if it did protect everyone, you feel like everyone would be good, But bad things does happen to people that get lost. But then it makes you wonder, what if the people that happened to the people that didn't make it or went crazy or unfortunately lost their lives, what if those were the ones that were victims of the black candejo? And the ones that did make it were survivors that met the white one.
And also, do you think that you have to believe in the supernatural for them to come out, or even if you don't believe in the supernatural, they'll still like pop out on you?
I guess in a sense, maybe, because, you know, I feel like people still experience hauntings or sightings or apparitions or anything like that, whether they believe or not. Like I said, there's been people that seen things and, they could be atheists or, you know, but just believe in different types of things. So yeah, I think that Yeah, I think that's what it would be.
So do you think these stories came to be like fiction or true events? Like, what would you say?
Well, I don't know if there's actual sightings, so I don't think they would be there. Like I said, many of these things that we kind of talk about like are kind of more on the speculation side of the spectrum, because I don't think there's been actual evidence on any of this, whether it be like creepypastas or all that thing.
So another question. You said that the Candejos appear together or one appears like you either get the white one or the black one, or how does that work?
I didn't necessarily say if both or not. I mean, sometimes people saw both, sometimes they just saw one. But yeah, like I said, they would just either see it when they were alone, either walking in roads, forests, or rivers like that. But yeah, and then there wasn't necessarily a pattern on if you would see both all the time or just one. I guess it depends on the path of life, I guess you would be in, or how you're doing, or if you need a life lesson, or like I said, just plainly lost or need help.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, what other legendary creature would be a good crossover to them, but I think it would be the Nahuales, not because they're the only other animals as well that have supernatural powers. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's other animals and other beliefs, but with that being said, like I asked earlier about the white and the black Cadejo coming out at the same time, I think it's only one or the other, if I'm not mistaken, that comes out. But what do you think if the black Cadejo and the white Cadejo come out at the same time and they both met? What do you think would happen? That would be kind of interesting. Not like would they fight each other?
Yeah, that's necessarily what they speculate that if the white one is there to fight the other one. So I would assume that by that analogy or belief that the black one was made before the white one because it was made to because technically its priorities are to protect people from bad and that the black Candejo. So my thing is that what people are saying is that yeah he would fend off the black Candejo for the person that is trying to protect.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. It's kind of like, well, not kind of, but it's having a guardian and then having, like a malevolent spirit, like either the guardian protects you and the malevolent spirit, goes against you. But that would be pretty interesting to see them both come out, like maybe like a fight. That would be pretty cool, to see that go down. Not that I condone, animal violence or anything like that, but because obviously I love my pets and I love all animals. But, thinking about it like supernatural wise, it'd be pretty cool and pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, and then since we're like on that topic, because before even closing out, we're on that topic of like shape shifting, animals. Um, so I don't know, pretty sure you're familiar with like vampires and stuff, but I don't know if have you ever heard of like a witch vampire? That sounds kind of weird, right? Or something I didn't hear before at least, but there's a thing that goes around like in Mexico too, or like a folklore that they're called la pluches. So that's pretty much that would be like a supernatural being that's a witch slash vampire, like a witch that has vampire abilities or physical traits and all that are of that nature. Now, usually they're kind of described as a woman. Some of them are say that they're men, but not usually. It's usually a woman. The crazy thing about them is that they also are able. Now, the thing about them, instead of them just being vampires, they're able to transform into other animals. But it's only like I think turkey or a bird or something like that, or even like a ball like of light, like kind of like a big ball of light, depending on what they are.
Or like a orb.
Yeah, kind of like that. So, and then what's also crazy is that instead of them like and to make themselves, I think lighter too, because they kind of go at night to attack or do what they got to do. Even them before I say attack, but um, they remove parts of their body so they're lighter. So they could sometimes transform or just be like that, and they could take their legs off and go fly. And the crazy thing about them is that kind of when you think about werewolves, when you see movies or even shows or games, you would usually see them kind of like attack you very violently or malevolent, kind of like suck your blood like in a crazy way, drain you. But now they go attack at night, and the victims that they only go for are babies and children. and they go silently and they drink your blood. They drink their blood while they're asleep and everything, and then over the course of time, people said that they would notice that there would be random baby deaths, and they would see how, there would be like loss of blood, or they notice like bite marks, or kind of like if they were sucked upon. And then like a lot of times people got into that superstition where, well, they for them to try to like fend them off, they would either put uh like they would hang herbs like over the baby's bed. They would keep the baby with them all the time, or put like garlic on the top. And they said that when they would see it like rot or smell a certain way, that's how they knew. Or they would even like pray. But that, yeah, that usually it would be like a woman type of vampiresque witch, but it was pretty much off to just do no good, And like I said, its main victims were babies, newborns, and children. And even then, like, I don't know, sometimes people had that. I don't know what part it or what time it was, but people sometimes would say that if you drink baby's blood or whatever, you would live forever or be young. I don't
Younger
know.
again. Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder, where people got that thought process from. But man, could you imagine that? Like, not only are you seeing a vampire, but that vampire is a witch, and it could transform. And not only that, it transforms into like a energy, or it could like remove its own body parts to like do its thing. But like I said, the scariest thing is that if you have a kid, and it's trying to do its thing, especially you being a dad.
It was basically a witch fire that sucks on little kids, huh? Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, because you mentioned something about putting garlic on top of like the crib. I do have, I do know that they say that for evil eye, mal de ojo. Like if somebody comes into your house and they have negative energy towards you, I think you hang. I don't know how you say it in English, but it's like a braid of like the garlics. You know how they come like stacked up in that little braid looking thing. You hang it on your door, and when somebody comes in that has negative energy, it starts smelling. So that's how you know. So that brought me back to what you were saying, that the garlic smells like, because it's in a lot of cultures, like in Mexican culture, that's what they say, hang it up. And then when somebody comes in and they're like, I think they have like evil energy or like malice towards you, like it starts smelling like garlic. Because I do know somebody that had garlics in their house, and when a certain person is around there, and they told me that it actually smells a lot like garlic. So, and I know both of those people, and I do know that one is good and one is bad. So when the person that is around that's bad, the garlic starts to smell, and that person didn't even know that until I told them that story, and then they told me the story that that, oh, my house smells like garlic, and I don't know why.
And then you want to know something else, do that woman will look completely normal and out of the nothing out of the ordinary, act like this regular person. And the thing about them is that like apparently that the reason they're like that is because they inherited or they were cursed since they were little. So that's why they kind of do what they do. I don't know if it's a way of kind of like an avengeful way, or trying to, I guess that's what they were cursed to be, maybe. It did also say that it also preyed on elderly men and women. So I guess like like really really old people. So it kind of makes you think that like, man, it just targets, I guess, the most feeble. You know how there's those types of I guess they say that prey for the weak. You know, but I guess it's that type of creature like thing. But I guess that's the weird thing, that it could appear as a regularly normal woman, like someone that every day, but they just in the night, boom, completely different person.
So basically, the way that happens to you, or you become a witch vampire, is bestowed upon you as a child, like you're cursed.
Yeah, yeah. So like they're cursed from little, and the thing about that is that like you would think too, when they go, they when they get their victims, they don't kill you in one instant. No, they'll go each day. Once they kind of claim you or know you, they'll go each day and suck a little bit each time, and each time to kind of be like kind of feed off you like that.
So kind of like a parasite, right? Like they'll drain you little by little until you basically die.
Yeah, and even then, when it got so desperate for them, that the garlic wouldn't work or that the praying wouldn't work, like they straight up just started putting knives and scissors under the bed, under the pillow, because they were like, "This is all we gotta do. We gotta kill it."
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Because basically, I mean, it is your child, so you have to do whatever it takes to, defend your child's life. Well, with those stories being said, is there anything you would like to say, or another, like I said, another story, or wrap it up for the day?
Nah, I mean, just kind of giving a little more insight on this before we end. It does say that people who do survive it, if you do get bit or something like encounter it, you could possibly be cursed. Or even then, some people supposedly state that it could give you could inherit that curse as well, or it could give you the same thing or pass it on. So I guess it's kind of mainly being like it's always leaves a mark on you in a way. But I do think that's really interesting. But other than that, I mean, I believe I'm done with my topics. As always, guys, we do appreciate you taking time out of the day to hang out with me and my brother. Whether you're watching this at midnight or the morning or the next day, the next few days, we still appreciate it. As always, if you do wanna, if you do feel comfortable sharing a story or experience with us, you could always put in the comment section or just DM us, whether it be YouTube, Instagram. We check our stuff daily. But anything else you want to say, do before we head out?
Like, share, and subscribe, and definitely stay safe out there, you guys. Thank you again for, tuning in to the Midnight Safe Room. Where you feel safe and no topic is off limits. You guys stay safe and thank you.
A red glow crawls across the wall.